All right, go.
Last week, Francis P. Salami, 84, arrived in federal court for a trial in Boston last week. And the trial goes through a lot of it. Actually, the trial hasn't started, but the people who are going to testify goes way back to when we had the mafia and all the gangs and everything like that were the people that run Boston, especially South Boston. So those people now, and their names are going to surface in this trial. And the people that wrote the article on it said that you better be looking out for some things you haven't heard about in a lot of years. Now this guy, Salami, his nickname was Cadillac Frank. So everybody around Boston knew him as Cadillac Frank, and he was sort of a rough guy. You don't want to really see him in a dark alley. But then, and what this case is about is he's been in witness protection off the streets for a while, but previously he served a lot of time and he did some things involving you know, where people were missing and things like that. And supposedly, he says he did a lot of things way back. Okay, then he testified in the case as an agent against the FBI. And for that, they took him off the street and they put him in that witness protection program. And that's where he's been. Witness protection, he's hidden. So nobody knows where he is. But then lately they found the bones of a body. His name is Stephen DeSaro, a real estate developer. They found his bones in Providence, Rhode Island. And those bones were about 25 years old. And they went back and they determined they were his bones. And this guy, Stephen DeSaro, he was in partners and worked a bar. There was a famous bar in Boston called the Channel Bar that everybody knew about it and everybody went to. And this guy, DeSaro, owned the bar with Salami's, the guy that they brought in for this trial. But now Salami's and his son figured that the way things were going, this Stephen DeSaro might testify against them. So him and his son went out. They took him to Providence, Rhode Island. They cut all his bones and all that, and they killed him. And they buried him, and they left him. And that was 25 years ago. Now, just recently the bones were found. So naturally the police had to go all through the case and find whose bones they were, and then they found out that he was one of the owners of this Channel Bar that was real famous, and a lot of people would always hang out there, especially mafia and criminals and people that run the community at that time. So and then after a few years, this Salami, his son died. Regular death, just died. So now they've indicted him for this Stephen DeSaro's death. The bones that were found, even though he was in a hidden place for the FBI testimony, they said we don't care. And now he's going to trial over DeSaro's death 25 years ago. They found his bones, and that's what this case coming up this week. Today, tomorrow, it's going to start in Boston. But the thing that's unusual about it is a lot of the people testifying, they're sort of famous. Nobody's heard of them now, and a lot of the young criminals haven't heard of them. but 25 and 35, 50 years ago, they ran the town of Boston and South Boston. They were the people to run the whole show. But so then they started looking for this guy for this murder. They discovered the bones in 2016, and now they found him, and they found him in a car which contained $28,000 in cash, which he had. And he's also, when he came to trial, he's in a wheelchair and he's having a hard time walking and all that. But this Cadillac Frank, the one that's on trial for the actual murder, this Cadillac Frank, he's admitted to multiple killings. He went to prison for a car bombing that blew a man's leg off, and survived an assassination attempt outside the International House of Pancakes. He was once a powerful mafia boss, the head of, he has a record, a long record, but that record was a while ago, and now it said that he was in some of those that were involved in the glorious years of organized crime in Boston. Also people testifying in this same case, there's a guy named Stephen Flemmy. He was known as the Rifle, and he's going to testify. Supposedly he walked in on the killing. And then also a Robert DeLuca. He was known as Bobby the Cigar, and everybody knew him by that name. He's supposed to testify at this trial. And one guy started talking, this Thomas Hillary, and said that he was involved in organized crime one time, and said one day that he was in a Chinese restaurant. This guy's salami come up and grabbed him by the neck and started choking him, and he was yelling, grabs him by the throat, blah 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 blah, and he said he had to leave town. You know, he was scared from the guy that's on trial, and that was in 1990, because the guy started choking him right inside the Chinese restaurant. But anyway, this case will start this week, and we're going to bring you up to date on what's happening and who is testifying. But the guy they're trying for the murder is this Cadillac Frank, Francis Lamia, and he was supposed to be one of the meanest people that ran Boston and South Boston during this crime time. But let's see what happens. Thank you.